Dave, welcome.
Oh, is it Dave?
Yeah.
Hey, Dave.
All right,
Dave.
Four-way conversation.
Hey, Joel.
Welcome.
Hey,
In 12 hours.
I know.
Like real live Murph, but without any Yingling.
Yeah, exactly.
You still don't have any, huh? I'm really sorry about that. I'd send you some if I could.
I've gotten a couple discrete packages in the mail over the years from a few individuals that have helped out the cause, that's for sure.
Oh, that's
One of
great.
them came with a sign.
Oh, there it is.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I don't have any signs. Oh.
I'm going to interrupt the conversation for just a second because we missed our giveaway by a few minutes. So we've got a giveaway. It's our last giveaway for VRF, and we're giving away a Mosquito Magnum. So we've been doing giveaways every hour on the hour. This is the last one. So if you have liked, retweeted, shared the stream, or whatever over the last couple of days, you have been entered into the drawing. Drawings are random. So drum roll, 3D Print Viking. Congratulations.
Yay!
You just won a Mosquito Magnum. I know you've been on the stream pretty much all the last 2 days. So thank you for tuning in, 3D Print Viking.
That is a fantastic prize. Way to go.
It is.
Way to go. Yeah.
So 3D Print Viking, please send us your email us info@sliceengineering.com with your mailing address, and we will get one of those over to you. So congrats. All right, back to the conversation.
Back to that. Well, I'm going to let you guys kick it with Dave. I'm glad I got to see him. Sorry you've got no Yingling, but I've got other things that I get to do today. Yeah. So this was awesome. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. I'll see. I'm sure I'll see you all online
soon.
Yeah.
High five.
Hey,
Thank you, Joel.
That's right. Air 5.
Air 5.
Air 5. Air
5. Nice. How's it going, guys?
Good.
How are
it's
you
been
doing?
a really fun stream.
Exciting. You got a good list of folks joining and filling the gap of actually hanging out at Goshen for the moment, anyhow.
Yeah, absolutely. Are you? I guess you're restricted from surfing right now too, right? They closed the beaches in California a lot sooner than they did Florida.
Some counties closed the beaches, others haven't, and I've read conflicting reports where the ocean could be the safest place or it could be the worst place, depending on what you read their article of. So,
all right.
I haven't gone in a little bit, but that's mostly because 2 kids at home working. Oh my gosh! I mean,
right.
MatterHackers, we've been busier, literally busier than ever. I mean, we've sort of. Our main objective is to keep fulfillment operations going, get people the materials that they need. But you know, we've actually, and it's like I'm hesitant to say it totally, but in this economy, but like we've grown over the last couple of weeks in terms of like the materials we've been able to ship. Challenged every portion of the supply chain, not unlike toilet paper, I suppose.
Right.
BTG is a hot commodity right now, but we're doing everything we can to keep fulfilled there, keep orders pumping out, because it's really important the work that people are doing. And then secondly, we decided to spin up like a little fork business here of trying to keep the MatterHackers Maker Response Hub open. That's essentially people can contribute their 3D printers to helping satisfy needs in the medical facilities, any requests we get. So that's like kind of a two-tailed thing, and we've essentially dedicated a good portion of our sales staff to make those connections. So we've been sending out we've been calling them strike missions for geographically located people, maybe in New York. If you have a 3D printer in New York, you have signed up. There's a hospital in New York, signed up. We'll get the 3D printed parts, the face shields. Actually, more than face shields, it's like doorknob pulls, so you can open a door with your shoulder or your elbow.
Yeah, or your elbow.
And just to reduce contamination. A lot of nurses are like reusing N95 face masks, but the ear straps kind of go to crap pretty quickly. So like little adapters to be able to hold those. So it's amazing the requests we're getting and how we're able to sort of use the community and distributed manufacturing in general and digital files to be able to help fill the gap of what we're doing right now. And that's, I think, really important. So we're busy.
Wow, that is a lot to coordinate. That's impressive.
A couple comments about having difficulty hearing you, Dave. I don't know if you can get the mic closer, maybe, or.
I'm on an iPad, so we'll do.
Gotcha.
We can.
Okay. All right.
I'll speak a little louder. Maybe that'll help.
All right.
Is that better?
I can hear you just fine. So it's just a couple people mentioned that the volume was low, so I'm not sure if we can do something on the back end to increase your input volume, but we'll give that a shot. So, yeah, it's amazing to hear. It seems everybody involved in the maker arena in some form or fashion is helping with the response, and so that's pretty exciting to see. And
Yeah,
I'm
awesome.
excited to see what you guys are doing too.
The passion that everybody's gotten. I keep saying the phrase like 3D printing was built for this. Like we were just waiting for our calling kind of here. But I mean, myself, I have a background in medical device engineering. So these are, the medical devices intraocular lenses that I used to design. So I've got that sitting here on my desk. I got a pair of calipers. I got a printer behind me. Like I feel like I was built for this. Let my two worlds collide, and I'm rip roaring, ready to go, excited to fill the gap, supply anything. I literally just dropped off like 10 of these, the 3D Workstand face shields at a friend's house who's a nurse in an ICU in Fullerton, and she like lost it once she saw this design and was able to. She put it on. She's like, "Oh my God, these are better than the ones that we're currently reusing that have foam and they're all unwashable and stuff." So it's really cool to see everything kind of get connected in a way that I think 3D printing in general, MatterHackers, and then sort of selfishly myself, my two worlds that I've spent 10 years kind of in each of sort of coming together in a really cool way, a way that I'm really passionate about. And we're excited to just be part of the solution, honestly. So,
yeah, I know a couple weeks ago when all this stuff started sort of hitting the fan, I was like, oh my gosh, like I want to do something. What can I do? And then literally the next day I was getting emails from, and I talked about this yesterday, but started getting emails from the governor's office that was trying to coordinate all the resources in the state of Florida to create a response team, and help individual companies to step up and get what needed to be done. So, yeah, it's been really cool actually it's been a very stressful but exciting time to be able to respond, and I'm happy that we're in a place that we can help.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I think that's where we're grateful to be. Also, just a position where, we've had a lot of conversations internally at MatterHackers, like, okay, what's the best use of our time right now? We're only a couple employees, and we're a pretty small thing at the end of the day, but we're big within the 3D printing community itself. So we've got, tens of thousands of spools of material and hundreds of printers in boxes. Should we just be tearing everything open and start printing our? We're better off using our community that we have here. Everyone in 3D printing has been a MatterHackers customer along the way, whether they wanted a Mosquito Hotend or a $25 roll of PLA or whatever it might be, or all the way up to 20 Ultimakers to fill out their like lab space somewhere. So we decided at that point to keep fulfilling orders the absolute best we can, stay in stock of everything, work with our partners, make more filament, and join those two forces together. So we're dedicating a lot of time to ensure that we are making those connections. We should, if anyone registered for that hub and hasn't heard from us yet, trust me, there are a lot of things actively going on, and sometime early this week, we should be launching a broader campaign to essentially everybody on that list so that they can be enabled to help. And there's something like 10 or 12,000 3D printers on this list. So that's
awesome.
A lot to coordinate. And we've, never done this before. We're okay at marketing, but this is like specific point-to-point contact marketing and connecting these things. The other hard part, frankly, is, a hospital will need something, but they can't just accept something from somebody. So then you need to create some version of an invoice or PO for $0 and say like, okay, well, here's what you're going to receive. And people don't want to receive raw materials for a face shield. They want to receive a face shield. But MatterHackers doesn't want to be a face shield distribution company, right?
Yeah.
Liability, but we do want to fill the gap as best we can. So there's a lot of logistics to figure out there. We can't just be, making 20 of these things and throwing them at some nurse to have them catch them. That there's a lot of liability there for us. So we're trying to do, and I've spent time in front of the FDA and courts knowing the game of what exactly the words safe and effective mean. Those are the FDA words to get anything through. It's the only two things that they focus on. So we're doing a lot of high-level logistics to make sure what we're creating is safe and effective, filling the gap of what we need, and something that the hospital, medical facility, nurse group is prepared to receive, because they must assume that, in times like this, it's a little bit crazy, but everybody's got to assume that it's going to be contaminated. So we make sure that they're ready to, we clean them ourselves the best we can. We ask all the customers or the hub registrants to clean them the best they can. But at the end of the day, it's going to be, you're going to receive these. We need you to desanitize them right away. So a lot of logistics. Everyone's learning something new every day.
Yeah. Did you guys consider doing like a 501c3 as part of this to handle that?
We did. We sort of went down that path, and then we've been really great friends with a group called Building Momentum. It's kind of a more government and military aid based, kind of like, think of them as the scrappiest, best engineering firm that sort of philanthropically does a lot of rad stuff. So we decided to partner with them. So we do have donations that we're going through there. The more we can get through there, the more we can do and enable communities. And we're trying to do the best we can to set up people who are willing to donate their materials and time and shipping and stuff. That's like kind of one tier of this community. The next tier is like someone that may want materials. So with these donations, we're able to just like throw these materials out and know that we'll be okay. Or if like kind of a third tier of like, hey, maybe we could give store credits for those who want to act quicker than waiting for some materials to get shipped to them or something. So like I said, it's more logistics, but we're trying to appease everybody in that stadium of contributing and wanting to be able to help. And that's really important. And it's sort of the way we're going about this. We got to be a little slow and methodical, but we're activating quite a few. I think we have a couple thousand pieces of PPE that have been distributed already, almost 10,000. We're working on getting towards that. And we've got a plan in place for the next 10,000. So
that's awesome.
Alan Puccinelli from RepRap was on here yesterday, and we had a nice conversation about what his whole setup and their organization is set up like, and so it's pretty cool to see sort of what his operation was doing. A little bit different approach than what y'all are doing, but still very effective from an organizational standpoint. It's been really cool to just watch.
I've been, it's great. I love this community. I'm on the phone with, more perceived competitor than anybody might ever imagine. Just like everyone help everybody out. So I've been on the phone a couple times over the last few weeks to see what he's got gaps in, what we've got gaps in, and how we can kind of work together to. We're all trying to do good here, fill gaps. We know that we have a superpower in the form of 3D printers. And sometimes the best way to enable that is for everybody just to blindly work together, and we're in. Yep, make that happen.
Yeah, that's awesome.
What are you making on your pulse back there?
Now I'm printing those 3D Workstand face shields, the 6-hole one. So we've got a bunch of materials in that we're laser cutting at Hackers. We can stack them up and laser cut about 10 at a time. They take about 30 seconds. So we can get through 10,000 in about 3 days. The raw materials becomes the issue at this point. The world is out of PETG for the most part. So we've got a little bit of stock of that. So now we're trying to activate to get 10,000 printed parts, which again, I'm not going to make 10,000 on my pulse right here in my garage near my surfboards hanging out, but everybody who can make 10, 20, 30, 40, 300 at a time, then kind of send them to a centralized location is what we're really looking for.
That's awesome.
So these actually just got approved through the NIH website. So we're really excited to be able to like kind of double down on this design for. You can print these in about 15 minutes a piece, and the reliability in terms of print quality is really great because they're one of the simplest face shields that you can print. They don't need a strap, so there's no extra hardware. They fit really great. Hospitals love them. We worked with 20 or 30 kind of medical facilities at this point that have signed off on that as like a quality design that they're interested in. So
that's cool. It's great. I didn't know that the NIH had approved it, so that's really good.
Happened last night at like 8 o'clock.
Okay. Yep. Definitely
Wow.
was not paying attention at that point. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great. That's great. They're working around the clock then.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
American Makes is working with NIH and with the FDA to kind of fast track some of these, not FDA approval, but at least like strong recommendations that this is, heading towards safe and effective at least, and someone's sort of validated that design. So that's, I think, an important website to consult if anybody's looking to do things. Face masks, for instance, like there's one face mask on there, but it has to be nylon powder bed printed to ensure that there's not gaps and stuff like that in the print itself. But yeah, the website's got a treasure trove of resources if you go visit it.
Very cool.
Maybe we can link the NIH website here. And then what's the website that people should go to sign up for the Maker Hub that you guys are coordinating to connect hospitals with 3D printing people?
There's a banner right on the homepage that says COVID response. Click on
Okay.
that. That will put you through essentially to a form where we're looking for a little bit of information to see what your capabilities are, where you're located geographically, so we can deploy those resources as we have the needs, geographically close. And like I said, we're working on a widespread one that we can just activate everybody across the country. We're really focused on the U.S. I mean, that's kind of our bread and butter is the United States. So there's other countries that are working elsewhere, but the majority of MatterHackers customers are here in the U.S. So we're just kind of focused on that, hustling through.
Wow, that's great. That's awesome. It's good because you guys have such a far reach that it's great you're able to coordinate this sort of thing. I know we were able to coordinate something with like our local hospitals here, but we don't have the reach to be able to, work with somebody in Pittsburgh, for example, or Chicago.
Shout out to those guys, Pittsburgh, actually, the 3D Pittsburgh group, Ryan and Chris and Bill White. They were our first, last week, they were our first little trial run for this to see, hey, can we succeed here? And they knocked it out of the park. Like huge thanks to those guys that sort of planted the seed. They're continuing to run with it. They're working locally as well. We advocate everybody should work locally as best they can. If you've got availability and print capacity, register for the hub, and then we'll activate you the best we can.
Yeah. The local response, I think, is really important here because your individual hospital is going to have individual needs, and so they may be asking. I mean, we've got 3 hospitals in our city, and each of them are asking for different things. Some of them need the face shields, and they're asking for the face shields. And then another one, they were like, oh, we got plenty of face shields, but we're out of N95 masks. So can you make, and they had a specific design that they had already fit tested. They already knew it worked. They liked it. And so that's what they were asking for. Nice. And the third hospital didn't want either of those things. They had an issue with, it was like there's these disposable covers around switches on ventilators. And they're like, hey, can you guys build us a bunch of these? We need 50 of these things. And it's totally different from what the other guys needed. And so we could have made face shields and just come and been like, hey, we have face shields. And been like, thanks, but no thanks. But we need these things. So it's super helpful.
Yeah, and that's the logistical part here is figuring out what people need, because not everybody needs the same thing. Like I said, one of the most popular things that we're actually printing are those door pulls, something to reduce contamination, and not even in hospitals, but in little emergency room places or hospice care places. It's not frontline ICU people, but the next tier of people that are seeing a lot of patients and want to be a little bit more cautious, protective, and those we're just as valuable there helping those people as we are anybody else. So
absolutely. Now you guys just recently moved, right? MatterHackers just moved to a new location.
Oh goodness!
So how did that go?
We spent the weekend moving a couple weeks back. The move went well. It was a little strange because after we moved, sort of everybody started working from home. So most of the staff at MatterHackers, much like myself, are working from home. But sales and support are still answering phone calls. We got your back and anything you need. Fulfillment operations in both warehouses across the country are operating and humming along. But yeah, we're very grateful to have more warehouse space, more office space, and the ability to, we're essentially consuming 3 or 4 buildings here in Southern California. So we're able to consolidate down into one, which it's exciting, and it's a good place to be.
It is. Yeah, I got to see your previous space in December,
Yeah.
and you guys were pretty packed in there. So it's cool to see already growing, expanding, and I think you guys have moved every year, I think is what you said when I was down there, or every 2 years or something like that.
2013, we've moved every year or added a new building or a new location every year. Yeah, which is it's cool to have that story. We always get into a space where we think it's gonna, how are we ever gonna fill all this space? And then within 9 to 10 months, we're sort of popping at the seams. And a couple of years ago, we opened East Coast fulfillment, our own fulfillment warehouse to be able to do that, to serve and do the best we can to have 1-day shipping to the majority of the population that we can access. So,
yeah, that's been cool. Even working with you guys now, sending stuff to either warehouse. And to see the order times come down, that's been cool for just on the supplier side working with you guys. It's been cool to see.
Yes, the internet has trained us to be, 1-day free shipping. So
keep
up with it.
It's hard to do.
But geography of the United States is certainly something that's higher complexity than the geography of any single, European country, for instance. But doing the best we can to keep up, keep customers happy, stay in stock of everything that we can, which is our current challenge. But we'll do the best we can to be price competitive and stay in stock and keep everybody making what they need. And right now, that's the most important thing that anybody with a 3D printer can be doing, I think.
Absolutely. I know I saw a question in the chat earlier about shipping to Europe. Is that something that's in the works, in the planning? I mean, maybe after the crisis, probably not right now.
Yeah. We're currently trying to reduce our complexities. We shipped to Europe for quite a while there, up until I think 2017 we shipped to Europe. But, if you get a couple, 1 or 2 returns from Europe, you realize that you got to get it back to the US and then ship a new one out. It's really complicated. So there's a lot of partners we have in Europe that if you want to get kind of the equivalent stuff, we can make recommendations. But since we shut off direct shipping to Europe, we've actually enabled a freight forwarder. So if somebody in Europe wants to buy something, they still can. We put them in contact with a freight forwarder, then that kind of takes care of logistics from there.
Cool.
So it's still possible.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Very cool.
Maybe by next year we'll see like MatterHackers jets flying around in the trucks and all that stuff.
We can all hope for such things.
That's awesome.
We'll buy a jet right after Slice Engineering buys a jet.
Okay. We go in on that, split the jet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Only a couple $1 million.
The cargo ones I think are pricey. But
So pilots are pricey too.
Well, plus what's a jet without, customizing the inside and spending, some more money on all that stuff.
I wasn't thinking private. I was thinking, shipping jets. But by that time, the private jet's looking pretty cheap. So very cool. Well, that's very exciting. All that you guys have moved that frequently. That's a sign of progress and the logistics that go with it. That's the unsung hero, really, logistics, as we're seeing now. So.
Yeah, it's a challenge. Inventory management is not a trivial task, it turns out. So we've got a development team that's constantly working on it. We're always trying to make improvements to inventory, shipping times, all those types of things that are 100% customer facing. Those are important projects for us. So
cool.
Yeah, it's amazing. You'd think inventory is just counting, right? You'd think that'd be easy, but it gets so complicated so fast.
Well, counting one thing, counting 10 things, counting 100 things is even digestible. But once you've got a couple, I think we have somewhere on the order of 2,000 SKUs. So, but we offer a lot of products. We're very happy to take the complexity of ingesting a lot of different products that are complementary to each other. But, counting a couple of all of those, takes some time. But we have dedicated resources for it, and we're constantly making, software tools to make that better. And every day is better than the last. I mean, I as an engineer, just constantly sort of stay motivated by saying all right, I'm going to do the best I can today, but tomorrow I want to look back on myself and be like, oh, wow, how were we getting away with that? To be always being incrementally progressive and sort of taking steps in the right direction to be better every day. And certainly this logistics challenge of, PPE and getting things to the hospitals and stuff like that is one of our biggest challenges to date, just because there's so many moving parts, so many different requests, and a huge community that wants to help out, that everyone's chomping at the bit. So we're excited to, sort of release the hounds very soon.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, I think this is really going to stress test a lot of organizations, and we can either come out stronger on the other end or break under the pressure. So hopefully most people will be coming out stronger on the other end.
Yeah.
And making it through.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'll just say we, as the world population and social group and all of humanity, will be better on the other end of this thing. I'm right now. There's a lot of work to be done, but grateful to be healthy and with my family, and that's not the case for everybody necessarily. Being able to do exciting things, but like I said, we as a society will learn a lot. We'll be better prepared for anything in the future, and sort of, you take some broken systems that are optimized for efficiency, and then you try to overload them, like the healthcare system, and you start running out of stuff because you ran too lean. So I think we'll be more prepared in the future moving forward, and that's exciting to think about, and a huge engineering challenge in and of itself. Political engineering, social challenge, but happy to be thinking of a future where it's all a little bit incrementally better.
Yeah.
Very, very cool.
Absolutely.
How important? Let's get to some important topic. How was the surf? Have you been surfing at all lately?
Yeah,
Too busy.
A week ago was rad. I didn't actually get out last week, but I think it's been 3 weeks since I've been surfing. These surfboards have been idle for they're drying out, so they're getting itchy to be back in the water. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But I personally am just trying to be very socially conscious. I've been working from home, I think, for 3 weeks now. Really just trying to be, as isolated as possible. And surfing is something I love. But at the end of the day, most of these surfing spots get kind of crowded. Even if it's 30 people or 10 people, you ended up kind of close to each other. So I've sort of made the decision to socially not do that anymore for this short term. It's a small short term window, price to pay, with the intent to hopefully do a greater good. And that's a tough, like anything, we're all giving up something here. I think people are giving up much harder things than surfing in Southern California at this day and age. So
definitely.
I think we're all, so many of us are lucky to be where we are, and I certainly feel that. And there's plenty of other things we can do with our time that are a little bit better. So
my sister got back from she was in India, and then she was on a mission trip. Her trip got cut short, so she then got evacuated to Australia, and then from Australia was in quarantine for 2 weeks. Went through 4 countries over the last 2 days to get back to Jacksonville at like 1:00 in the morning last night. Then she's going to be quarantined for another 2 weeks, and then who knows how long before she can actually go out and see people. But the situation in India was already getting a little crazy before she left, and now it's even crazier. And so I'm just thankful that she's home.
Yeah. Great that she was able to weave her way back through the world and end up back. And
there were 6 people on her Trans-Pacific flight, which is nuts. Crazy.
That's social distancing. Wow.
Yeah.
That those 6 people were people that needed to get home, and we're glad that those flights were still running so that your sister could get home safe. Do the right thing once she gets home, and like I said, everyone will be better on the side of this. We're in the thick of it, so it's tough to think about, but there's light at the end of the tunnel always. So
always.
And
Chris is a surfer too, going back to the surfing conversation.
Yeah, fair weather surfer though, and I live in Texas now, so it's not quite as and even Florida was obviously it's not as good as Southern California, but like to go to. My dad's really a surfer. He's a real surfer, and so I would surf to be with him, and we occasionally go to Costa Rica, Nicaragua, and places to surf.
Nice.
But
cool.
Yeah. So I'm jealous. You are in the surf, the origin of surfing, and it's pretty neat. You have to wear a wetsuit though. That's a kind of a pain. So
most of the year you have to wear a wetsuit. Summertime gets up to 73, 75. So there's a couple months, July to it's stretched till November sometimes where you don't have to wear wetsuits, but generally pretty cold water.
Yep.
I've surfed a few times, not well, and actually so my wife grew up in Florida. I didn't grow up in Florida, but my wife did, and so she would surf. Growing up, again, Florida Atlantic side waves, so they're small. But anyway, so we went surfing on our honeymoon, and actually broke my nose surfing on our honeymoon. So I decided to headbutt a sandbar, and it did not end well for me. The sandbar was fine, but it didn't end well for me.
The sandbar survived.
Yeah.
Right. They always do.
Your nose and your neck.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, my neck was fine, thankfully. So, but my nose is not.
That's a good thing. Yeah.
Yeah. I can still breathe though, just fine through both nostrils. So I was very happy about that.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. But yeah, I look forward to getting back in the water, but now I think my time's better spent doing some of these logistical things to try to keep the 3D printing community afloat. Something that's really important. So
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Well, Chris, you look like Mark Cuban, evidently, according to the comment. I bet you've never heard that one before. Yeah. I think that's definitely a compliment.
Yeah. So, Dave, what the Pulse printer? Can you tell us anything about the future? I mean, of course, everybody's always asking us the future of product development. I hate answering those questions, but I'm fascinated by Pulse and its design and so forth. Could you tell us anything about it?
I mean, it is a product that we kind of threw at the wall a couple of years ago, thinking, the equivalent was thinking of like a bike shop that, could take your bike and kind of modify it, put the handlebars you wanted on it, put the grips, the gears, and all those things. We thought, that was a current gap in the market. We had a lot of, even back in 2015 when Pulse was its idea came up was, everyone would ask us to assemble kits for them and then put specific hot ends and specific extruders combined with them. So that's where Pulse was originated many years back. And it's sort of just lived on its own and grown nicely over time. And we keep adding new things to it. I think one of the most public facing things we've done ever was sort of say we're selling a lot of this Nylon X stuff and technically we're voiding everybody's warranty if you're printing with carbon fiber. Maybe we should make one that you're not voiding the warranty. And essentially we said, all right, well, if you break the Bondtech extruder, we'll happily replace it because that means you've printed with enough Nylon X that you deserve a replacement extruder here or whatever anyhow. So those are the type of opportunities that Pulse is built for. Internally, it's what we use for a lot of testing. The BASF Ultrafuse, a lot of the initial prints were done with a Pulse in an enclosure settings to be able to print with the metal parts, the sintered metal parts. We use it as a test bed. We're proud to offer it to anybody who's looking for a solution of anything customized. And certainly different components, different extruders, different hot ends. So we've got a Mosquito one that's kind of in the cannon, waiting to get launched. We've got all the files essentially ironed out, locked in. We've got the inventory in. It probably would have been this week that we launched it, but now the whole world's focus has kind of shifted. But essentially, if somebody does want to order a Pulse with a Mosquito mounted on it, pre-assembled, configured, and calibrated, you can. I just have to call us because the product page won't be live yet. But we have the capability to take those orders today.
Yeah, I think one thing that people new to 3D printing may not fully appreciate is what company is going to support your printer. And, if you buy something like a Pulse, or, earlier today we had Lulzbot on the line, and if you go with one of these companies that has been around and has a real support system, that's at least half of the value of the printer, So if you're doing something that's at all difficult, then it's probably more than half the value of the printer. Just being able to call somebody or send a ticket in and get a real, like a technically astute response. So you guys are well known for that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we built our, even early on, our entire brand on that. It was, 2012, 2013 when MatterHackers first started, serving customers. And we realized that a lot of the ecosystem was Kickstarters and overwhelmed somethings and materials that you didn't know quite who you were buying it for. So we put a phone number on a web page, and turns out anybody starting out, they maybe weren't even customers. We did a lot of customer service for not customers early on, just someone looking for a phone number who knew how to, a little bit of Arduino or some firmware flashing, or how to swap a Hotend out, or what a thermistor was. Or just, all of the questions we answered for a good number of years there. But I love the maturity that the community has built. But yeah, we've always doubled down on everything that MatterHackers retails. Like, we stand behind it. We guarantee that you will succeed with it, and if you don't, we'll configure options for you or make returns easy.
Right, and I mean, what kind of machine can you buy, modify, and then go back to the OEM and say, "I need help"? That you guys do that all day long, I'm sure. So
yep. Yeah, and even more the complexity of like, hey, I want to buy it, I want to modify it, but I don't really want to do the whole wrench turning and recalibration and firmware flashing. With Pulse, we're able to do all that stuff. We will take the complexity of figuring out how to install it, and we charge the price of the component itself. So,
right,
we have the nimbleness that you may associate with like Dell on a PC or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a pretty
cool
system.
Adventure.
Yeah, choose your own adventure. There we go. That should be the hashtag.
The conversation around 3D printing prior to face shields over the last 3 weeks will continue to be materials. And if you can be broad on materials, and I think there's been a lot of companies out there that have really embraced new materials. If you look at the Ultimaker platform, the Raise platform, and people who are really putting their sort of their ecosystem on the line in going wide in materials. I think that's the future. When you talk to, whether it's someone trying to make some specific thing with this mechanical property in the garage, or you talk to some engineer at a Fortune 500 company, they're looking for specific resources to meet material properties that are listed on a technical data sheet. So those are turning into a good portion of conversations where 3D printing is growing. PLA is going to probably never be beat in terms of the number one thing that is ever material that's printed with, but material science and new materials backing of a lot of even these bigger companies is really exciting, really, really exciting when you think of Dow's and BASF and DuPont, those types of companies coming into 3D printing. We've been able to work closely with them, so we have a lot of inventory of those, essentially from those big companies' standpoints. It's a tiny little drop in the bucket, this little additive manufacturing. They keep asking like, hey, so when's the train stop at MatterHackers to be able to drop off loads of this? We're like, we'll take like a kilogram or two. So,
yeah.
But genuinely, like, those conversations are awesome because they're betting on the future of additive, and that really supports the ecosystems that we've been talking about and the material stamps that we've been talking about. And that parallels like really well with what's happening in the world right now. Yeah, 3D printing can save the day, and someday it'll be 3D printing and injection molding and CNC milling all lined up right next to each other, succeeding in their own paths. Whereas 3D printing right now is kind of thought of as what you prototype with, what you do form fit, but you might decline on function. But once you have some of these nylons that are used in the automotive space, why not why not have it function? Why not, validate that your car can get through a crash when you're testing it and getting it verified through some of the agencies? Why not have some 3D printed components on there if they're in the same material and you can trust that they're of the same mechanical properties? Then yeah, there you go, function. And I think that's a lot of the future. And that's me as an engineer. I'm very excited about that, to be able to have conversations around technical data sheets.
Right. You mentioned Ultrafuse. Have you worked with Ultrafuse much yet?
Yes, we've worked a lot with Ultrafuse, actually. So we worked with BASF over, I think, probably about the last year. We were some of the first people to print it and really come up kind of with, and that's what we've done in the past, is come up with kind of the easy bake recipe for this. So if you're looking for more information, MatterHackers, we actually have a video. I think I did that video. So.
Okay.
We've learned a lot. We've learned a lot. We've really seen it succeed, and it's a really, really cool material.
Cool.
Real actual metal that when you drop it on concrete, it goes ding, ding, ding.
Right. Yeah. I mean, people, they, I guess SLA, had started to make some inroads on FDM, I think, in the hobby market, but then FDM just keeps coming back in terms of its flexibility. First of all, you're printing with real thermoplastics, and then you can have materials like that are filled, carbon fiber, of course, glass fiber, and then now metals, where you're sending, you can print the part on inexpensive printers, send it off, you get a ticket, right? They center it, and now you've got a real metal part. And it might need some machining, some post machining, depending on your application afterwards. But before that, I mean, your options were, I used to use DMLS some for my job, and it was like, I don't know what it is now, but it was like $60 per cc centered. I mean, it was completely not out of the reach of a hobbyist. So this is that the Ultrafuse just opens up doors for people making real parts in their garages, I think.
Yeah, it's a game changer, and we've seen a lot of people succeed with that. It is a slightly complicated process. You're going to print it at home, you're going to send it out, it's going to get sintered, you get it back, but we've sort of got a guarantee that there are sintering runs every 2 weeks, and if there's enough demand, we'll do it every week. So there's a schedule, when you ship it in, when you'll get it back. It's there's 2 shipping options, an expedited one and a slow train one, but even if you do the slow train one, it's something like 3 days returns to you. So it's a little complicated. There's a little black box. We're actually in the process of shooting a video to be able to go to the sintering house to show, like, hey, here's exactly what happens to your parts, to like really open that black box so that people aren't intimidated by it in any way. It is a method of manufacturing, though. So you've got to, design for manufacturing is a thing that we learn in engineering schools, and 3D printing is a method of manufacturing. Sintering is a method of manufacturing. You must succeed at both. So your designs there are some considerations for design limitations and good design for that. Much like you wouldn't make crazy pockets that are super sharp on a CNC or, undercuts on an injection molded design. There are just some rules of thumb to follow for 3D printing, and specifically with the debinding and sintering process, because you're evacuating all the plastic, you're breaking down tiny pieces of stainless steel, plasmaing them together. And if we didn't have gravity, it'd be way easier.
Yeah, I bet. So that process won't be a RepRap. The sintering process won't be a RepRap thing for some time then, in your opinion?
It's available to be done on RepRap machines, but the process of debinding and sintering, let's just say it'd be cost prohibitive to do it in your garage or something.
Right.
Like that. There's heat, there's chemicals, there's pressures, but we're partnering with a network of people around the world that do succeed at this. It's essentially doing metal injection molding processing. It's the same materials, the same parts. So there are already houses across the world that do this on a regular basis, big businesses. But the machines themselves, if you want to go buy one, you'd be about $500,000 to buy the machine itself.
Right. Okay, so somebody outside the U.S. who wanted to print Ultrafuse currently, would they have to send their parts to the U.S. for sintering and debinding?
No, so there's a network of debinding and sintering houses around the world. I am aware have at least 3 in 3 different countries. So obviously we work with 1 or 2 here in the US, but there's one in Germany to serve most of Europe. I believe there's one in Australia. There's one in Asia. So there are locations around the world. Talk to your local distributor. We're the US distributor for this material, but yeah, it's pretty cool. There is some complexity to it, but oh my gosh, what you get out of it is so cool. And if 3D printing isn't precise enough, it's stainless steel 316L, so it's machinable.
Right.
You can harden it. You can, sort of post-process it in any way that you might. You can grind it. You can make it super shiny. And I'm surprised that every time I go to take a part and like kind of clean the surface and just like face grind it or lap it or something like that, you can't see any pores under a microscope, under like a microscope. It is amazing.
And there's no powder to remove either. I mean, you're making the part. You don't have to design for powder removal or anything like that.
No.
So.
Yeah, you can use supports. So you can use the same supports, or you can be clever about how you kind of support some of those things. And then you can always, grind off those supports after you kind of like design it in. People design supports in pretty cleverly.
Very cool. We've got a spool. I don't think we've started playing with it too much.
We haven't started playing with it yet. Yeah, that was one of those things that supply chain started getting disrupted back in late January, early February, and so they just haven't gotten to it yet.
Yeah.
Real good metal parts. It's like, it's still mind-boggling because for 10 years, like, oh, you go through in your garage, does it print metal yet? And like, no, years. 2012, no, 2015, no, 2017, no, but finally 2019, yes, we can do it. And there's a couple options out there of varying degrees, but getting the backing of BASF and having it's no like crazy wizardry. It's metal injection molding technology, so it's mature,
right.
30 years mature at this point. You have definitely held, probably today, something metal injection molded. If you picked up a wristwatch, definitely. If you pick up like a cordless DeWalt driver or something like that, it's got all sorts of metal injection gears in there. So that technology is just kind of being mashed together with 3D printing, and that's so cool.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, I can't wait. The first application that comes to mind is Ian Pegg's multicolor hot block.
Oh yeah, the mixing hot block.
Yeah, he's having to do it with
Yeah.
stacks of parts, and I'm thinking, okay, we've got a spool of BASF. If there was a way, and maybe there is a way, I thought he'd have to ship his parts back to the US for debindering and sintering, but maybe in the UK they're close. You can maybe ship it to Germany. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, there's probably someone doing the same debinding and sintering in the UK for sure.
Okay.
Germany definitely could serve that.
Yeah, cool. There's so many applications for these things.
Yeah, and that's that the metal material is really just one in a whole portfolio of materials about like you were talking about, these escalating conversations around technical data sheets. Nylon, match it with carbon fiber, then add some metal, you get PETGs that are a whole like PETG and ABS. We think of like this one little thing in 3D printing, but really it's represented by a whole slew of different material attributes that it could be. Even I think we've spent the last 2 or 3 months like really working on polypropylene as well, which is the most widely used plastic in the world
ever.
Right. Yeah.
Pretty sparsely used in 3D printing, and I think it's got a lot of momentum, materials capabilities. Think about any Rubbermaid living hinge thing, food storage thing that you've ever touched that's reusable is polypropylene. Every chemistry cup that you've ever put epoxy into or any other nasty chemicals, polypropylene. So the material properties there are amazing.
It's very inert.
What can happen with that material? So we've been focused on polypropylene over the tail end of last year.
Cool.
That's exciting. We were talking about polypropylene sticking to the bed earlier.
Yeah,
sticking to the build plate.
Yeah,
that's a challenge.
Biggest challenge. So we actually have a bed now. So we have layer lock polypropylene is something you can check out. So essentially there's a million different surfaces that people talk about. The packing tape is the best one, but what a terrible solution. So we worked and did a lot of testing and did a lot of fabrication of material surfaces using textures, different materials, A lot of polypropylenes are like polypropylene-esque, but then they're combined with like an HDPE or something like that
Right.
to get that sticky. But if you actually want polypropylene, you got to have a polypropylene surface. So we were able to work with and develop the layer lock solution there, and it's working gangbusters.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. Yeah. What and our polypropylene? I mean, the one I'm familiar with is the what is it? The glass. It's glass fiber. GF30. Are you guys looking into maybe like a lot of glass fiber filled or carbon fiber filled PP?
Yeah, I mean, everything that's filled with carbon fiber serves its purpose from a technical data sheet and the materials, description of materials. But I think polypropylene itself, there's a lot of utility to adding carbon fiber to it. But I think like virgin polypropylene, the thing I held up earlier, is injection molded polypropylene. This is for cataract surgery and stuff. But like its properties on its own are really powerful. So once you add the carbon fiber, you lose some of you gain a lot of stiffness, which is polypropylene's downside unless you design geometrically around that. But virgin polypropylene is like chemically the most resistant thing. It can do living hinges. It's got a lot of material properties that like are sort of opposite of the carbon fiber side. I mean, that, where you're talking to, a hat of MatterHackers where we've succeeded with Nylon X so well. So yes, let's add carbon fiber to all of it. But
yeah. I'm thinking like dual extrusion. You'd have like neat polypropylene and then the fiber, depending on where you want rigidity or a living hinge or something, So
that would be very cool.
Yeah. I mean, just the polypropylene is such a robust material. People talk about nylon and PETG being, more robust than PLA, but at the other end of the scale is polypropylene in terms of chemistry and mechanical properties, living hinges, stuff like that. It's
water resistance too.
Water resistance, hydrophobic, so you don't need to dry it out either, which is an advantage over nylon. And it does have properties similar to nylon, but
so actually it turns out Ian Pegg's on the Mr. Decking Man's on the
is he
on the line? Yeah, so he just commented. He said he's going to send us the STL. So
I see it now. Okay, we needed another project. So.
Yeah, there. And then we got a question from Practical Printing. Does polypropylene stick to a PVA raft?
Does polypropylene stick to a PVA raft? No. Nope. Oh. PVA is not a great support material for polypropylene.
Yeah, fortunately.
But it'll stick to a polypropylene raft. You kind of got to cut it away, but it like a raft cuts pretty cleanly. But for my purposes, rafts aren't. I never use rafts. I rather just like find the right build plate for whatever I'm printing. Raft definitely helps from warping on certain corners and stuff, but at least for most of the things that I'm interested in printing, I'm doing the design as well. So you can kind of do creative designs. One of the best things that I think, I don't know if I have any of my surfboard fins here, but I was printing surfboard fins kind of like on its angle like this, which means you're touching the build surface with just this thin little line. So one of my favorite things to do is actually to put like big circles, just one layer thick. I call them lily pads, like put little lily pads on either end of that thin string, because they just want to pull up, right? The surfboard's going to be here. This corner wants to lift up. This corner wants to lift up off the print bed. So if you put these lily pads, it's just like, I think of them as like frog's feet, just like hanging on to things and hanging on to things. It's enough surface area to grab onto the bed. So I prefer that over rafts, and then you can come and flush trim cut them pretty quickly.
That's cool.
That's a good idea. I hadn't thought about that.
Well, we've reached the end of VRF. So thank you for being our last guest, Dave. That's pretty fantastic. Nice. Really appreciate you hopping in and giving. I mean, we had a really far-reaching conversation. Everything from materials to COVID response, and this has been great. It's been great to have a lot of cool guests on and talk about what's going on in the world and how people are responding and bring some really. I mean, the reason we did this whole thing was to bring some positivity and fun back into the community during this crisis. So thanks for being a part of that.
Well, thanks for having me on. I mean, I think you guys are, we're touching on a lot of subjects, which I think is just sort of representative of what MatterHackers is doing and trying to achieve in general. But, times like these, we're grateful to have, like I said, our families close, to have our health, and to know that this whole community is working like crazy to be part of the solution. You know, we were built for this. I genuinely think 3D printing community, we were built for this. We were prepared. We've got 3D printers in our garage. We got calipers on our desk. We know how to sort of enable. One of my favorite stories is actually even talking to like Jen Schechter, who's part of like a lot of those community builds where people were printing at home, numbering things, and then they put together as like big sculptures. She led all those projects. This is just, you know, what's happening in 3D printing, what Pooch is doing, what MatterHackers is trying to do, what everyone's doing locally. It's in Huntsville, Alabama, or in Sacramento, or Los Angeles, or Florida. Everyone's doing distributed manufacturing, and we were built for that. Send me the STL, bro. I'll get one to.
Yeah.
It's really cool to see, and then it's kind of on the onus of everybody else to keep materials flowing, make sure everybody's got what they need, and everyone's pointed in a direction that's clear. And if you look at Twitter, sometimes the direction's not totally clear, but we're locally making sure that whatever we're creating is something that's in need, as you were saying. Really
absolutely. Awesome. Thank you, Dave. Really appreciate you hopping on, and enjoy the rest of your day. I know it's still early over on the West Coast. So
we got, just finished lunch.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. See you, man.
Cool.
See you guys.
Thank you, Dave.